Well, good morning, everyone. So, welcome to AARP Illinois' special virtual event. I'm Teresa Jones, Associate State Director, and I'm here with my buddy Courtney Hedderman. So, she is the Senior Associate Director of Advocacy and Outreach. And together, we are your fraud-fighting fraudlettes. Now, unfortunately, I didn't wear my fraudlette shirt this morning. So, when I ran out of the house, but I'm still fraudlette. So, but we're thrilled to be bringing you the latest on frauds and scams and ultimately arming you with the information that you're going to need for prevention or, even reporting if you're a victim, which we hope that doesn't happen. But we're excited to bring this month's topic, and it's becoming a fraud fighter in advocacy. So we're going to discuss how seniors can get involved in fraud advocacy and protect themselves and others from scams. So, as you know, unfortunately, fraud is a growing concern, especially for older adults, and it's important to stay informed and proactive. But before we get started with our discussion, I'd like to remind our Facebook and our YouTube viewers that you can ask questions and share your comments in the social media feed. We'll do our best to address as many of your questions as possible during our conversation. So to kick things off, let's start with some questions about our topic, and I'll ask the first question, and then Courtney will go from there. Is that all right?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, Courtney, what are some common types of frauds that target seniors?
Yeah, no doubt, there are so many different types of fraud that take place, or scams, really. And even though we're obviously really talking about older adults because they seem to be the most vulnerable, obviously anybody can be scammed at any point, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the big ones that are really always just kind of in the forefront, or just really people being taken advantage of, are a lot of phishing scams. And phishing scam is where a criminal will basically impersonate maybe, or they act as a trusted person that they could, that someone should trust. And they're asking and they're trying to trick people to get information, provide sensitive information like passwords and social security number and the Medicare number and your credit card information, anything that is really your personal information. Those are phishing scams. So people, again, criminals are trying to get you to feel like, hey, you can trust me, and why don't you give me all your information? That is probably one of the biggest ones that seems to be taking place, because you can have phishing scams over the phone, you can have it online, any of those things. I will say another very popular scam is lottery and sweepstakes. So I don't know about you, Teresa, but I get it all the time. Like, you've won something. I'll get a call, I'll get an email, I'll get a letter even in the mail saying that I've won a trip, I've won money, any of those things. But what happens next is that they're trying to retrieve, like, hey, to get your winnings, to get whatever you've won, you need to do this. And you need to provide information. You need to even pay taxes on it. You need to pay like this transaction fee to get your winnings. And obviously those are all scams. I would say other popular ones are anything as relates to healthcare, particularly Medicare, investment fraud, and just overall identity theft, that your identity has been stolen to take out credit on a credit card, or credit to do something in your name that of course you did not do. Those are the big ones. Okay. So obviously, Teresa, we know that these exist. And so we know that there's probably signs, right, of things that we should take note of, right, to make sure we don't fall for this. But like, how should somebody recognize, or how can we recognize these signs of a potential fraud or scam?
Well, those unsolicited phone calls that we get and emails, those right there are some red flags. So our requests for personal information, when they're telling you better act now, this is too good to, this is too good to be true. And if you don't get it now, you're never going to be able to do it again. You know what? when they're trying to pressure you to act quickly like that, that's another red flag. And those, and again, as I said, and those offers that are just too good to be true, well, you know what? 9 times out of 10, they're not true. You're right. They are too good to be true. So, but fraudsters, now they often exploit small details. So look for inconsistencies. So they say one thing and then it's another. So those sort of things are red flags that we'd like for you just to stay away from if you possibly can.
Love it. Yeah. So what do you think about, okay, so people are there, everyone's going to be, after our conversation, everyone's going to be like, yes, I am armed with making sure that I am protecting my personal information. What steps can people do to protect themselves and particularly their personal information?
Well, and you've heard us say this over and over and over. You can protect your information by those strong passwords. Not ABC 123, definitely not your street address or your phone number, folks. So you also need to shred sensitive documents. Anything that has like your social security number or these other numbers that are self-identifying, please shred those. Be cautious with sharing information online. You know what? It happens to the best of us. Sometimes we're getting in there, we're looking at it, and they'll say, "What is this? What is that?" Next thing you know, you're just click, and you're like, "Oh my God, I've just given them everything but the name of my firstborn." So be careful with that kind of stuff. And then also monitor, if you can, regularly monitor your financial statements, because sometimes that's where people find those inconsistencies.
Oh, I love it. Those are great tips. Great tips.
Well, thank you. I'm the tipster this morning. So.
You are.
So now I'm going to ask a question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So why is it important for seniors to report fraud, even if they haven't lost anything?
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for saying that. Okay, so AARP actually just had an article that was published, and we'll put this in the chat for sure later on, so people can refer to it. And the Federal Trade Commission just reported on all, like what's basically been stolen in 2024. And it's over like $20 billion that, people have gotten fraud or scammed or whatever, that they've, lost money. They've lost money in the last year. The thing is that's what's been reported. So we know that reporting is really important, not just to know data and statistics, but to really help prevent fraud. Because if we don't report, then authorities really, have a difficult time in tracking and then ultimately preventing scams overall, right? So if we want to protect ourselves and also, other people that are, beyond us, right? Like, so if you have been somebody who has experienced fraud or a scam, whether you've lost money or not, please report it, because it will lead to the apprehension of criminals. Certainly that's very possible, but also can help prevent scams in the future and fraud in the future. So please, please, please go to your local law enforcement. That's kind of like your first line of defense. If you're like, I think I might be a victim, I'm not sure, or I know I have, any of those things, please contact your law enforcement. They are your first step into helping report. And it is a great thing to help reduce even repeat victims. So like, say you have been a victim already and you know what, oh, gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't, please don't feel that way. Don't feel that way at all, and report it, because then it could help you. And then of course help someone else. And then, we do track things. It helps for data purposes and collection of understanding exactly what frauds and scams are that are out there that are occurring. So it helps us detect, it helps us enhance prevention by staying up to date. And that really can only happen if there's actually reporting. So please report, everybody. And if you're not sure, still report it too.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of that. So you're saying report, but how do we safely share? How do seniors safely share their experiences with fraud now to help that can help other people. I heard you say
Mhm.
go to the police, but that's kind of, it's you and the police. How can we share our experience?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much for this because, we can share our experiences through community meetings and online forums like we're here today. Teresa and I would love to hear your story if you have one. And we can try to connect you with someone if you needed more supports or something. There are support groups out there. There's all sorts of educational workshops. The Fraud Watch Network that AARP houses, we have lots of webinars and online sharing and tools. There are so many there are so many people out there that are talking about fraud way beyond you and I, Teresa, which we're so happy about because the more we talk about it, the more we have a chance to fight the fraud and just eliminate it, right? So, if you feel comfortable, share your experiences. So again, it not only helps you to, make sure that doesn't happen again, but it helps others because one of the I think the things that's so hard is sometimes we feel like we're on an island by ourselves, like we're all alone and we made a mistake and we believe something and we got scammed and that's so embarrassing and we feel really foolish and gosh, I'm embarrassed and I don't want to share. Please don't do that and don't feel that way. We will help ourselves and others if we actually share our experiences and what we have, whether we've lost money or not. You've got to call. You got to call the other day about, and you identified the scam. Like you didn't fall for it, and that's so great. That should be celebrated actually, and shared with others because then again, somebody might hear you share your story and share that experience. And they might get that call the very next day and they'll be like, oh, nope, that's a scam because I heard my friend say this or my neighbor say this or, so I was on an online forum and I heard this. So share is the best advice too.
Right. And just to go over what Courtney said again, you've got the Federal Trade Commissions, you've got us, you've got AARP's Fraud Watch Network, you've got the local enforcement agencies and nonprofit organizations that are dedicated to fraud prevention. So there's things you can just look up. If you don't know, like Courtney said, give us a call. We'll be glad to help you. So there's a lot of different ways. So Courtney, what are some effective ways that spreads awareness about fraud in the senior community?
Yeah, so I think there's some really good effective ways that include hosting informational sessions. AARP is really wanting to, and we host online, but we also are doing some in-person things as well. So, being involved in person type of activities and informational sessions, I think is really helpful and really good. There are lots of written materials and written publications. So distributing those pamphlets and those booklets, definitely using social media to kind of spread the word, and collaborating with community organizations. And again, like AARP, we want to focus on fraud prevention. We know we're not the only ones. And so there's a lot of organizations that are working on that. And that's a really great, effective way to kind of spread our word and our awareness about fraud. Also, again, I think sharing the experiences of fraud can help just raise awareness in general, right? So within our community, within our state, within our region, and really talking with others, educating and informing others about potential scams and how to avoid them. So when you're on this today, share the message with others. That will go a really long way. That would be my big ones, my big takeaways. So Teresa, I'm going to ask you a couple now.
Okay.
We have, obviously we've already talked a little bit about law enforcement, but I think this is really important because how can seniors, older adults, anybody really work with law enforcement to combat fraud? Like what exactly does law enforcement, why are they an integral part of this?
Well, when you report your scams to law enforcement and you provide information about activities, they don't know if you don't tell them. So, pardon me. So you participate in community policing efforts, and then and as far as I know, like in our community, there are every now and then you have to look for it, but they do have fraud prevention workshops. So that right there, that's a good start. if they don't have one, go to your law enforcement and talk to them about something in your community. And everybody has that one or those two police officers that they do community work, and that's what they'll do. So you go to them and you talk to them and say, hey, could we start something in our community? So but you've got to report. If you don't report, they don't know.
Yeah.
And as you heard Courtney say, that those suspicious activities, even if it's because the fact it is suspicious, report it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. So when somebody actually reports, like, think about, maybe we should talk a little bit about, if someone suspects they're being targeted by a scam, right? Like, and they might be in conversation, right? With a fraudster. I mean, somebody who is committing the fraud, the criminal, right? And maybe they haven't necessarily reported it yet, right? They haven't stopped. Like, they're still in communication. Like, they're in the midst of the communication with the criminal. Like, what do you think someone should do? Right?
Stop.
Yes, stop. Right? Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
I was wishing I had a big old red stop sign here. I was going to hold it up. Stop. So if, instead of communicating, and because sometimes you're talking and you're not thinking about what you're talking about, you're not necessarily, and they're sly and they ask you these questions. And before you know it, you've given up way more information than you intended to. And sometimes that can be a little dangerous. So report it. If you're communicating with someone, even if you're not anymore, still report that incident to authorities. Also, if by chance you've given out some bank or credit card information, call those folks. Call the bank, call the credit card information. They all have, credit cards have a fraud department. I think in most cases, I was looking on the back of one of my credit cards and it's on there. So the number's right there. It's easy to find. And then what you do is, if you need some support, then you talk to someone from a fraud prevention organization. That could be anyone. That could be something like I just said, at your church, the police. But don't keep it a secret.
Love it.
Help.
Yep. Love it. Okay. So say somebody, how can people stay updated on the latest frauds and scams? Like, how, hey, I wonder really what the latest one is, and how we can maybe prevent it, or, what are happening? What are the tactics that are happening out there? So how can someone stay updated?
Well, there's a couple of things. You can subscribe to some fraud alert networks, newsletters. You can follow trusted sources on social media, and attend those seminars, those educational seminars. Check government and nonprofit websites. Now, as we told you, AARP has a website as well that you may want to check out. So I would do that. I would also tune into hey, I got a secret for you guys. Now, this one's good. Tune in to those Fraud-Fighting Fraudlettes. They are on the last Monday of each month.
Yes, now, we are.
If it happens in the middle or whatever, you don't have to wait. But you can always call us. But one of the good things is, and I happen to know those girls. They're pretty good girls. You may want to watch them and check out what's going on.
You're so funny. I love it. These are all very good. I think that there is so much information. It's just more we have to help find it, right? Yeah. And AARP is a great resource, like Teresa already said, and there are many things that are happening in your community. So we'll look for those, and you will find some latest scams. I will say one of the ones I've mostly heard about recently is the IRS one, of course, because we're in the middle of tax season, right? Or getting closer to the end of tax season, but people have our identity stolen and they have a tax return that's, taken out in their name. And I think that's really prevalent right now. So contacting the IRS, if you have that, obviously law enforcement, because you'll certainly want to get that straightened out. Sometimes it takes a little while, but there's so many people that are, wanting to help you if you become a victim of that. I've also seen a lot of just more online scams. Teresa, have you as well, like saying, I have a package coming, and I need to like pay more, or like, oh, there wasn't enough, and there's more money that's needed for the shipping costs. I got that not too long ago.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about you, but the one I've been getting mostly, because obviously I live in the northern part of Illinois, so in the Chicagoland area. And so I use the tollway all the time. And I've been getting nonstop text messages saying I owe money for tolls that have not been paid. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely a scam. The Secretary of State, who oversees all of our tollways in Illinois, but maybe in other states as well, if you have tolls, that's a big scam that's going on right now. And that is not true. The Secretary of State would not be sending you a text message asking you for toll money. So please make sure you check those accounts if you're getting those types of email or text messages or emails, and definitely do not be clicking on that link that's being again sent to you via text or whatever. You don't know it, don't be clicking on that link, right? That's mm-hmm. one of our main messages, right, Teresa?
Right. Yes. And it's funny you'd mention that. Just recently, I have some friends that live in the Chicago area, Indiana area. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not used to paying tolls. So, I'm used to, I'm not used to paying tolls. So anyway, I was riding up there. So, I was putting my money in, I thought, and I got a notice on my email mm-hmm. about a toll not being paid. And I thought, well, did I not put enough money in? Did I not pay? Did I not? Well, so I took it one step farther, though. I didn't call them, but I called the Secretary of State's office, because I have some, I do happen to have some friends that work there. So, and some of us aren't, we don't have those friends like that. But I reached out, and they said, that's a new scam. So mm-hmm. like I said, not to belabor that, but if there's something you guys don't know, and those fraud-fighting fraudlettes, we'd be glad to get your email or your calls. So absolutely. And we'll be glad to research something for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So Teresa, how can, one of the main topics we really did want to talk about today was about just advocating for stronger fraud prevention and anything as it relates to fraud advocacy. And so, how can older adults advocate for stronger fraud prevention and anything as it relates to fraud advocacy? Well,
contact your local representatives. You can participate in community meetings. You can join some local advocacy groups, write letters to the editor. I'm telling you, those letters to the editor can be something else. Mm-hmm. And support legislation that is aimed at fraud prevention. We have here in Springfield, we have something called the neighborhood. And so you can report fraud on there. And I actually did. I had something happen, and I could not get this person to respond. But when I put that little email out there on the community, the neighborhood community post, guess what? They answered. Mm-hmm. And so because they don't want to be called out. So especially if you have a name or who these people are or whatever, that's even better yet. So, but like I said, not to belabor, but contact your local representatives. Check out those meetings, check out those advocacy groups, and write those letters to the editor. And then again, support some of that legislation that's aimed at fraud prevention.
I love it. I love it. So we're very excited here because AARP Illinois and our Fraud-Fighting Fraudlettes, Teresa and myself, are really excited about kind of this next endeavor with you. And so for everybody listening, and Teresa, maybe you can share, how can everybody, listening, watching, get involved with us?
Well, what we would like you to do is to join the Fraud-Fighting Fraudlettes. or you can become an Illinois fraud fighter. So we know you guys probably don't want to be called fraudlettes. So we'll just call you the fraud fighter. How's that? But we'd love for you to join that with us, because together we can stay informed. We can help each other, and then we can ultimately fight fraud. So to join us, all you have to do is send us an email, and I'm going to give you Courtney's email. Not that you can't have mine, but we're going to just give you, so it comes into one channel. We're going to give you Courtney's, and then she'll let me know as well, and we'll both be getting back to you for some time.
Mm-hmm.
Courtney's email is CHEDDDERMAN@AARP.org, and we'll have it on in the chat as well.
Yep.
So we'll be sending you our fraud fighting kit. Guess what? For free. People like free stuff. Tell your friends it's free. We'll get you a fraud fighting kit. And then guess what? You officially become a fraud fighter or a fraudlette. So, and then our next steps, we'll go to our next steps together, and we will start our journey.
I love it. I love it. This is awesome, because we really want to mobilize all of you fraud fighters. And we want to make sure that you are armed with all the information that you need in our fraud fighting kit. So there'll be brochures and written material, but also some free giveaways too. So there'll be some fun stuff in there as well to help you fight fraud. And really, again, next steps, just like Teresa said, next steps in how we're going to be on this journey together, how we can help ourselves and help others, and do this together. So we would love for you to be an Illinois fraud fighter. So please join our efforts. So again, send an email to myself, Courtney Hedderman. It's at Hedderman, so CHE2DSERMAN @AARP.org. And we cannot wait to hear from you and get you to be a part of our fraud fighting fraudlettes and our fraud fighter team. Okay, so Teresa, any parting words do you think that we should give our folks here?
Nope.
Okay, here we go.
Just be careful. Just be careful.
Just be careful. I agree with you. Okay, so Teresa, we are. I'm really excited for us because we are embarking on our fraud fighting group here. So please, again, join us. We want to, I can't believe we're actually towards the end of our call here. That went really fast, right? It always goes fast. So to our audience, thank you for joining us for this conversation. Remember, the power to create positive change lies within each of us. So please join us next month. We are at the last Monday of April. We will be talking all about fraud still. It's always about fraud. So we'll be talking about that. We look forward to continuing our mission to supporting older adults, caregivers, the entire aging community, and beyond in Illinois, and of course, across the country. For more information regarding fraud, you can contact AARP at 877-908-3360, or by visiting our website, aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. That's aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. Obviously, if you'd like any more information on upcoming AARP Illinois events, you can visit our website at aarp.org/Illinois. We hope you have the most wonderful day. This concludes our virtual event, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe, everybody.